Well, hey everyone. It's a Thursday. It's June the 11th, and glad to be with you again today. I want to begin by reading this verse from the book of Job, the very first verse. And it goes like this. In the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. Job, that character in the Bible, whose very name is synonymous with unimaginable loss and suffering. So I'm just going to focus a little bit on Job and that first chapter. But that's how the very book, the book of Job begins. So Job, we know in the book of Job that Job is very blessed. He has incredible abundance, only to have it taken from him by catastrophic means, by the permission of God, no less. The permission by God to allow Satan to bring ruin and devastation to Job's life. And all with the primary aim to bring Job to that place of utter despair and to bring him to curse God to his face. For Satan to curse God would be the ultimate victory, because it would mean a hateful, spiteful rejection. It would be verbal spitting on God's face. Nothing would make Satan happier. And so Job would be the ultimate prize. I mean, Job, the blameless, the full of integrity person, the faithful God-fearing man. And God says to Satan, have at it. Have at it with Job. And the targets Satan has are numerous. I mean, Job has a massive farm. He's got lots and lots of servants. Job has a tight-knit, loving, and caring family. So Job's about to face the test of tests. Fast forward to the day like no other that Job faces. In rapid succession, in that chapter, that first chapter of the book of Job, we read about Job losing everything. It's either stolen, or it's murdered, or as his family, they die under a collapsed building. And it's difficult to begin to imagine the kind of grief and loss Job endures. When my dad died suddenly from a heart attack, I remember clearly feeling as though I was kicked in the stomach. It was like I was trying to catch my breath. The shock and the loss was overwhelming. I can't fathom how utterly devastating this was for Job. I mean, how is Job going to respond to this? And it was the moment of truth. Satan watching with great interest, salivating at the prospect of Job shaking his fist at God and cursing him to his face. So the question was Job's faithfulness to God and his blameless life all going to be undermined by his response? I mean, his life was going so well. It couldn't get any better. And we're about to see what really is in Job's heart. As Job didn't see what was coming, we don't know what the future holds, do we? Many of you can attest to that fact. I mean, life can change instantly or over a relatively short period of time. Life is fragile. It's gone. It's here today, gone tomorrow. And it's easy to enjoy life when things seem to line up, right? It's in those moments, it's easy to give God thanks. But challenges come that we're not prepared for, that we've never had to deal with before. We experience loss, and our faith is put to the test. God's good enough when we have money in the bank. Is he good enough when we have no money at all? God's good enough when we have our health. Is he good enough when the doctor says you have 6 months to live? God's good enough when your family is all together. Is he good enough when you stand together around an open grave. It's not hard to believe in God when everything is going our way. Anyone can do that. But when life tumbles in, then what? Well, how does Job respond? We read that after he hears all this news in rapid succession, he gets up, he tears his robe, he shaves his head, an outward display of his deep inner grief and weeping. And then we read that he falls to the ground in worship. I mean, the unimaginable loss, the grief, life torn apart. And we see Job's heart, his devotion to God. In all of this, Job worships his God. Here is the ultimate response of the man of faith in the face of unexplainable tragedy. He weeps and then he worships. This is what separates or differentiates the Christian from the rest of the world. Everyone weeps. They weep. A Christian weeps. Christians worship, but we don't get angry. The sorrow is just as real, but it's a sorrow that leads not to despair, but to worship. I mean, look at the words, or hear the words that Job says in chapter 1 after he worships, or after he falls to the ground and worship. He says, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." That's a person that's living with his hands open. The Lord gave to me, and the Lord takes away. It's not a man that's holding on, fist clenched, holding on for dear life for the things he has. No, he's living with hands open. Some dear friends of ours who live in the Niagara region, several years ago, they tragically lost a daughter, a young daughter, early in her 20s. It was a tragic accident. And I remember going to the funeral and seeing this couple whom we're good friends with, praising God, tears streaming down their face, but praising God. And it was that moment where they had their hands open and the grief and the pain was so palpable, but they were saying, the Lord has given to us. He has given us this beautiful gift, but he's taken away as well. Nevertheless, in this moment, we praise you, God. You see, we do not gain anything if we turn away from God in the time of trouble. Because if we turn away from him, then we lose our only ground of hope. But as the Apostle Paul puts it at the end of Romans 8, I mean, what can separate us from the love of God? Nothing at all. Not life, nor death, nor tragedy, nor heartbreak, nor suffering. We are forever connected to his love in cords, with cords 1,000 times stronger than steel. So when life tumbles in, what then? You see, through our tears, we rest our confidence in one great truth. He who brought us this far will take us safely home. So I want to encourage you to consider, to reflect on, are you living with your hands clenched? Are you living like this with your hands open, declaring, God is giving to me, but he's also able to take away? Nevertheless, whatever happens in my life, blessed be the name of the Lord. Maybe you be encouraged with this message today. The Lord bless you.